This is episode S, so this is love. Feeling connected is a basic human need, as vital as air, water, and food. I'm here to talk about bridging the gap between ourselves, our friends and family, life partners, and anyone we come in contact with so we can more fully experience connection. Hey, I'm here, and I'm happy to be here. Truly, I am. I told Jared, I'm going to go work on my podcast. And he said, okay, have fun. And I thought in my head, yes, I either have fun, I enjoy it, I do it, or I don't. There's no in between. I don't need to have any more pity parties on the podcast because nobody likes that. It's just like being around a friend who brings everyone down or is complaining about something or wants something and always dwells on it. The vibe just brings everyone else down too. So I'm over it. I got it off my chest. I'll either do the podcast or I won't. But time will tell. I'm not going to dwell on the future. I'm just going to be in the present, and the present is being here with you. So thank you for joining me and spending some time with the podcast. Things in life are always changing, right? Well, just like I told you, I change my mind constantly, and I'm already rethinking themes for next season. So I mentioned that I might do preschool parenting things with kids, but you know what? That's what I do with my preschool business, and I have a separate page for that, Storybook Preschool LLC, that you can go follow, and I post things on there if that's of interest to you. But I think I'll just keep it separate, like I said. And as I've been brainstorming, I want to know what you want to hear too. I feel like the podcast is where I talk to you, and the Facebook group is where you can talk to me, give me your feedback, connect, interact. So yeah, join us on there. A is for adversity. And speaking of the Facebook group, there are currently 101 members, so thank you. I hit 100 before my 100th episode, so that's awesome. It's a place for connection, belonging, and understanding. So again, join us there. Lastly, before we get into today's episode, I wanted to share a quote with you that I heard recently. If you're new here, I'm a quote lover, so I'll always share new quotes that I find or quotes that are relevant to the episode. This quote said, "I may not know what tomorrow holds, but I know who holds tomorrow in his hands." And I couldn't find an author that this was attributed to, but I really like it and how it applies to adversity and thinking about the future. As I mentioned, we might not know what's coming, but we know it's in God's hands. It's not up to us to worry about or decide or take away from the present moment in anticipation for. Okay, I lied. One more thing. My husband is currently rewatching Jackie Chan Adventures. It's an animated show with Jackie Chan from his childhood that he remembers, and he found a streaming service that can play it. At any rate, the uncle in the show always says, "One more thing," and it's after everything that he says. But I digress. I did want to thank a sponsor for this episode. I know you've heard me talk about her a million times. It's Sherry Fernandez. She is so fantastic. I have learned so much from her, and I only knew her lived around her for 3 years. But now, even though I've moved away, I'm still learning from her. She wrote a book, Life Mastery, Personal Progression Towards an Infinite Potential, and she's on Facebook, Life Mastery. She's going to produce a quote book pretty soon. She's made a planner. Also very inspiring, and she's been a huge sponsor of this podcast from the beginning and helped me offset the cost of my radio ad that I produced this season. So I just cannot thank her enough. Definitely go check her out for sure. Okay, phew, you're still here? Good. This episode's title comes from Cinderella when she's singing as she's dancing with the prince at the ball. She sings, "So This Is Love." And I can't remember all the lyrics, but the one that sticks out in my mind is, "So this is the miracle that I've been dreaming of." And of course, we aggrandize love and often hype it up, but it truly is magical and great, but it's also odd and weird and uncomfortable at times, and maybe just not exactly what we pictured. So that's kind of the premise of this episode. I'm going to go through that phrase, so this is love, and I'm going to emphasize different words through each section. You'll get the idea. The first one is, so this is love? And I'm going to speak a little bit to the awkward moments. Jared and I were together 1 whole year before I ever passed gas in front of him. I always found other opportunities to do it while I wasn't with him. I just felt so self-conscious about it. He didn't, for sure, whether about himself or about me. And it might be just a guy thing, but I just remember even the first moment that I did it, I was so mortified, and we discovered it had been a whole year since we'd been together, so we had started dating in January, and I didn't do it until the next January, which meant we'd been married about 6 months. Another moment is the wedding night, and I'm gonna assume here that at least some of it was awkward for everyone if you waited for your spouse before having sex of any kind. I had never seen a naked man before, so it was quite a shock, but hopefully I recovered gracefully. Again, I don't know if it's men, but Jared didn't seem fazed. And the last example that I have is, once you have kids, it just seems like you're always talking about their bowel movements and giving each other updates about them as if it's nothing. So, this is love? The next word in the phrase is this. So this is love. In marriage, I didn't expect all the inside jokes, the inexpressible comfort, the shared moments, and just the unique relationship that you have with your spouse. Just as each one of us is unique, so too are our relationships. No two relationship is alike. I thought I'd share a few of the things that are on the inside for us. One thing is, if it's ever 8:08 a.m. or p.m., Jared will say, "Oh, it's Bob o'clock," because the time on the microwave usually looks like Bob, because the 8s are a little funky and kind of look like bees. A marriage is also sometimes the conglomeration of traditions or habits or rituals from each side. So one thing that Jared brought from his family is the game called Pinch Punch. And it's every month on the 1st, you try to be the first person to approach someone and you pinch punch them and you say, "Pinch punch, first of the month, no hit backs." And so it's always so fun to try and be the first to get each other. And of course you pass it along to your kids and do it with them. So Rowan's joined us. And there are times when I wake up in the middle of the night on the 30th or 31st and get Jared in his sleep, which isn't always very nice. But you just have to be the first one. So that's been kind of fun. Another little game that he and I play is called Yellow Car. And this is from the BBC radio broadcast called Cabin Pressure. And I think I've recommended it before. If not, I recommend it again. It's a radio drama and it has Benedict Cumberbatch, if that's of any interest to you. Another little game is New Band Name I Call It, and I think this comes from Parks and Rec, but I'm not entirely sure. And it's just where if there's a standalone phrase or something that's the last thing a person said is humorous, you can say, "New band name I call it," and it just kind of turns what you said into a funny thing. The most recent example I can think of this is Jared was texting someone and he typed accidental avocado instead of the word automatic or something like that. And so then, new band name I call it. We also celebrate half birthdays. This is mostly because of me. I just like half birthdays for some reason, so we celebrate those. The next few things are just words that Jared has changed. So we'll say Deborah Downer instead of Debbie Downer. Brocco leaves instead of broccoli. Jared worked at Aggie Ice Cream, so he has changed the name of Caramel Cashew to Karma Cashew, and then Cookie Dough to Cookie Dog. So this is love. Okay, the next one. The word is. So this is love. And what that brought to mind is just a confirmation of love. When you know, you know. I shared in the live storytelling show from the second season that there was a specific moment when I knew that I loved Jared. I knew it was love. I knew we were going to be together forever, and it just hit me. Sometimes you just know over time. It's a gradual building. It layers upon itself. I heard someone say, I love him more now than when we got married. And I just think that's cool how love grows and is reassured and affirmed. So this is love. And the last one, of course, the word love. So this is love. It's the real deal. It's unconditional. It doesn't just mean the happy romantic bits that you see on TV, but it's the gross stuff too, for lack of a better word. And of course, this relates to a Bluey episode. There's always a connection there, right? Through the thick and the thin, in sickness and in health, ups and downs, all of it. So this is love. And those feelings of love, they're for us. They make our hearts swell and fill us with the warm fuzzies. I hope you have the opportunity to love many people and to have many people love you. Thanks for joining me, and I'll talk to you again next week in the 100th episode. In the meantime, share this episode with someone you love. Talk to you again soon. Bye.